One of the constructs that we realize that is keeping us anchored within this realm of duality and kind of delaying the deepening of our consciousness to the level where we can actually start resonating with those higher frequencies in sort of the fourth and then the fifth density is our addiction to the linear progression of time. And this is the construct that we want you to grasp. Well, why were calendars introduced as an example? And specifically, calendars that are not in rhythm with how our lives flow. I mean, we know that if you look at the lunar cycles, the moon works in 28-day cycles. I mean, even the female procreation system works in a 28-day cycle, etc. And yet here we've got this very artificial calendar system, 12 months in a year. Some days have 28 days, some have 30, some have 31. I mean, all to kind of keep you off your rhythms, biorhythms. You know, I mean, remember, everything is energy, frequency, vibration. So when you're out of alignment with energy, frequency, vibration, in other words, you aren't working with rhythm, you're out of rhythm, obviously that's going to kind of keep you off your game. We've got these calendars that are keeping us off our rhythms, etc. Every probability, every possibility always exists. All we've got to do, we don't create anything. All we've got to do is we've got to create a resonant frequency. In other words, we've got to deepen our consciousness. We've got to resonate, frequency match with that event, that experience that already exists. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to stop living in fear and anger and anxiety, etc., because that is aligned, or should I rather say, that is the program narrative where we kind of been pushed into, because when we live within that narrative, remember, the quantum field mirrors and reflects your energy in motion, your emotions. So if you're living in dark, low states of emotion, that is the world that is going to be mirrored or reflected back to you. Everything's been done to program us to observe the linear progression of time, because like I said, the belief, the absolute deep-rooted belief within our consciousness that time is linear. In other words, you're born, you become a teenager, you go through your 20s, you die. This is the part that's the toughest for us to get, because by observation, I mean, we see young people, we see teenagers, we see people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So we see this progression and we go, well, how is it possible that everything can exist at the same time? Well, this is how it's possible, is you are programmed. Our brains are beautiful pattern generators, because we've been programmed to believe that every now, every moment gets stitched together. So we believe and we see, and by observation, we see what we believe is the linear progression of time. And that's why I say that is one of the greatest anchors holding us here. So by saying, let's celebrate the new year, what we're doing is, that's part of the programming. But when you can take a step back and go, okay, well, what is midnight on the 31st of December going into the 1st of January? It's a now. It's a single moment. Why do we call it the present? Because that's what it is. It's a present. Every now is a present. But this is where you, at any moment, can move from third through fourth into fifth density. When you start to really understand this at a deep soul level, is what we need to do is we need to break our addiction, because that's what it is, to observing the moments, every moment. In other words, stitching moments together to create what we believe is a lifetime. Whereas we have, the moment we break that addiction and we realize that we are indeed the architect of our future, we're the author, we're the director, the producer, and the actor in our own play, we can create anything we want, any life experience we want. So I know this is a tough one. This is one of those really difficult ones to internalize, because by observation, by indoctrination, by programming, by our deeply ingrained confirmation biases, we believe that time indeed is stitched together. In other words, every now, every moment is stitched together, and that's what adds up into a lifetime. So there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. Break your addiction with that. And the moment that you do that, you can create any experience you want. In other words, you can invite in the highest level of evolution and the greatest level of happiness that you've ever had in your life. Why? Because you can have, do, and be anything. There's one caveat: do no harm. And as long as you're doing no harm and you're acting in the best interests, in other words, everything you're doing is driven with a positive, because remember, you can't get there unless you have that positive emotive drive behind what you want to achieve. The moment you go negative, what's going to happen? The quantum field is going to mirror the negative. This is not something you've got to learn. It's something you've got to remember. So search inside yourself. Listen. Your intuition is that voice that speaks to you. It's what you know before you think. Listen, and something amazing is going to happen. You are going to unlock your unlimited powers which are hidden within you.